In 1958, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev began an experiment that would take decades to complete. He took wild silver foxes, animals that had never been tamed, and began selecting them for one trait only: not size, not color, not strength, friendliness. He bred the friendliest foxes with each other. Generation after generation, within just a few generations, something remarkable happened. The foxes didn't just become friendlier, they had become physically something new. Nobody taught them to change their appearance. All Belyaev selected for was one behavior trait. And looking at what the foxes become, some researchers have a deeply uncomfortable thought. They looked a lot like us. Here is why that thought is uncomfortable. The physical changes that happen to domesticated animals follow very specific patterns: smaller curls, rounder faces, flatter brow ridges, shorter jaws, floppy ears in any species, curled head in others, reduced aggression, more tolerance of others in close proximity. Biologists call this the domestication syndrome. And when you look at the human fossil record, the skulls and bones of our ancestors going back hundreds of thousands of years, you find the same pattern. Human brow ridges have been flattening for 80,000 years. Human skulls have been becoming rounder and lighter. Human faces have been getting smaller. Human jaw size has been shrinking. We show every marker of domestication syndrome. The only question is, who domesticated us? The answer proposed by a group of researchers, including anthropologist Richard Wrangham, is both simple and straight. We domesticated ourselves, not by accident, not randomly, through a specific social mechanism that human communities developed and used consistently across culture and across time. Here is how it worked. In early human groups, individuals who were too aggressive, who threatened others, who took more than their share, who would not cooperate, created a problem groups that tolerated. High aggression were less stable, less productive, and less able to coordinate. So groups developed ways of dealing with them. Sometimes exile, sometimes social exclusion, sometimes in cases of extreme or repeated threat, execution. In many hunter-gatherer societies studied by anthropologists, the community would collectively decide to remove an individual who was too dangerous to live alongside. This was not random, it was consistent, and it happened across enough generations, repeatedly enough that it changed who reproduced. The most aggressive individuals, generation after generation, were less likely to survive long enough to pass on their genes. The more cooperative, more socially skilled individuals were more likely to remain in the group, find partners, and have children. Over tens of thousands of years, this pressure changed the human gene pool, not by adding new traits, by removing the old ones. The physical evidence is exactly what you would predict. Richard Wrangham points to the same skull changes seen in domesticated animals. Flatter brow ridges, associated in most mammals with high testosterone and high aggression, reduce significantly in modern humans as compared to our ancestors. The white of the human eye, which no other primate has, is thought to have evolved because humans needed it to coordinate so precisely with each other that sharing your gaze direction become more valuable than hiding it. You can tell exactly where a human is looking from across a room. That only makes sense if the other humans around you are mostly cooperative rather than mostly threatening. Human babies are born expecting faces, responding to eye contact, reaching for connection from the first hours of life. No training required. The social wiring is there from the start. These are not cultural achievements, they are biological ones. The implications of these are not comfortable. If humans self-domesticated, if our cooperative nature is the result of communities systematically removing their most violent members, then human kindness is not simply a moral achievement. It is an evolutionary one. The reason most people, most of the time, choose cooperation over violence is not because only they were taught to. It is partly because the humans who consistently choose violence were, over many generations, selected out. This does not mean humans are naturally good. The capacity for violence is still present. Under extreme conditions like resource scarcity, perceived existential threat, dehumanization of others, it resurfaces. But it does mean that the baseline human tendency toward cooperation, like social connection and tolerance of strangers, is not a fragile cultural layer painted over a savage core. It is written into the biology. There is one more piece to this. The same self-domestication process that produced cooperative behavior also appears to have produced something else: the ability to think together. Wrangham and others argue that reduced aggression is what made genuine communication possible. When you're not constantly managing physical threat from the people around you, you can do something else entirely. You can think out loud, share ideas, build on each other's thinking, teach language, culture, cumulative knowledge. The things that define human civilization may all depend on a prior biological shift. The shift away from dominance based interaction toward the kind of low aggression, high cooperative social environment where ideas can actually spread. The domesticated fox didn't just become friendlier, it became more able to read human social signals, more able to participate in a kind of shared attention that wild foxes cannot. The same shift applied to humans. Maybe why we can't talk at all. You are a domesticated animal, not in the way that word usually feels diminished, tamed, stripped of something. In the truest biological sense, your skull is rounder than your ancestor, your broad edges are flatter. Your capacity for cooperation, for eye contact, for reading another person's face from across a room, these are physical adaptations shaped by selection over tens of thousands of years. The patience you feel with difficult people, the discomfort you feel when groups treat each other cruelly, the pull you feel towards fairness, even when it costs you something. These are not just values you are taught, they are features your species built into itself. Over thousands of years, in groups around the world, ordinary humans made collective decisions about who was safe to live alongside. And slowly, generation by generation, those decisions shaped what we become. And you are the result of that process, and so is the person standing next to you.